Hello.
Welcome.
And welcome to Movie Phone. All right, hi. Okay, I wanted to talk about this shirt. You see this? This is the rainbow flag and lightsabers, right? And I love this shirt, but it's specific. Like these are the specific handles for specific characters. Like the purple one, that's Sam Jackson's lightsaber and that sort of thing. The yellow one, that's Leia's. Anyway, and I used to know more detail, but I have forgotten.
Are you a big Star Wars fan? Because I feel like a lot of former Scientologists are.
I don't think anyone in my generation can't be. And yes, the Scientologists fucking they love the sci-fi. They love the sci-fi. Absolutely, because it falls in line with the story, the narrative. I wanted to talk about that. The story. This is great.
It does.
But what I wanted to say about the shirt, though, what I think is funny, is it sometimes pisses people off. Because what I've noticed is the nerds don't want to be gay and the gays don't want to be nerds. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of the nerds in my generation turned out they were gay. Like they came out. And they don't want to be reminded they used to be nerds. And I do. I don't mind.
Hey, nothing wrong with being a nerd and a gay. It's called intersectionality.
Amen and hallelujah to that. This bitch. Okay, so wait. The story. Yes. They love the story. They love the sci-fi. And now I understand so much more why. Because the Scientology story is a big old sci-fi narrative. And a poorly written.
And I went on the ride at Disneyland and it was like, I've never watched all the Star Wars. And it was intensely space opera.
That's what they call
I was just shocked at like how close to our real lives it was. They were like, the story they told us, at least, you know, I was like, holy moly, no wonder people love Star Wars.
No wonder they loved it so much. And Dune and Star Trek and, you know, the whole thing. The story we were talking about Christianity and Judaism and how there's this story. And at some point you had realized for yourself, like that Scientology was a story. And I think that was part of my problem is I don't think I saw it as a story. I thought that's what made it special is that it wasn't just allegories and stuff. It wasn't about Xenu or any of that. It was about this very specific plotted plan to spiritual freedom. Do you know what I mean? There was a roadmap, literally, or so he claims, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting thing to me that the story of the intergalactic blah, 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 and the implant stations or the wall of fire, you know, I only caught little glimpses of this over the year. I remember knowing about the wall of fire and I wasn't supposed to. And it was, I was going to burst in a flame.
You ever have your mom tell you, oh, that's just an implant?
Oh, yeah. Reactive, you know, take control of your reactive mind, you asshole.
Yeah.
Hiya, Captain. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Anyway,
how was your week?
I don't. Oh, okay. So the joke is I live in the exaggerated utility closet. I don't even want people to know. Like, that's the best.
Well, you're in New York. I mean, a lot of people do.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And I'm grateful. You know, like I'm subsidized, and God bless. By the will of the ego I. But since I've moved in, there's been all sorts of problems, right? And PTSD is apartment. And the
apartment's an SP.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it feels like a practical joke. It feels like a really elaborate practical joke. Like they put somebody in this room and they go, let's see how long they'll last. I feel like there's cameras somewhere. It's the noon show.
It's an escape room.
Right. Oh, funny. Yes. So the kitchen sink's coming away from the wall and the oven was a mess and the fridge stops working and the bathtub won't drain for the longest time. It was standing water. I had to bail it out with a bucket every day or every time I used it. And there's this ongoing leak that started. We don't know. I don't know. It's an old building. It's full of leaks, full of holes. I don't think they even know. I think it's more than one thing.
Yeah.
Misinformation. I don't really understand. And it went on for a long time. And it was mostly contained to this closet. There's a closet here in the front room, right in
the leak
door. Yeah. And then moved out into the hall, and then it moved out into the building hallway. And then they finally did something about it. And so it went away for a while, and then it kind of comes back every once in a while. Just every once in a while for what seems to be no reason. And then the other night, the ceiling in the closet collapsed. Like the whole ceiling just. We opened the door. We looked at that. We closed the door. We put a box.
Could you see up to the apartment above or what?
No. There's like, there's a big chunk of space between our ceiling. It's an old building. They don't, it's not
Yeah.
cut right through anyway. There's space there. There's a crawl space of some sort. And
you live in Brooklyn?
Yeah. It's a pre-war building. They call it pre-war building.
Oh, wow.
So pre-World War II. So, and I guess it's like an old railroad apartment that's been cut up into pieces. Like this used to be one long thing, and now it's like 3 sections.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something like that. Because there are still those kind of apartments in New York where it's like, and I'm not sure what exactly they're designed for, but it's all one long apartment, but it's kind of cut into sections. And each section has its own front door into the hallway. So at some point they went, well, we should just put walls in there and sell them off as 3 different apartments. And that's what they do.
New York housing is like,
I cannot tell you how many times I've been in an apartment and it's very clearly an apartment that somebody has put a brick wall up into the middle of. And it's not at all a real apartment.
Well, speaking of water, I had the Culligan team come out to my house today to test my water.
What's the Culligan team? Is that like the chromium thing?
It's like a brand of water. No, the Culligan water. It's like whatever. I've been suspicious that my water has like bad things in it. So they came out and tested me and told me they definitely do.
I would think so. As I recall, everything has chromium in it, right? Didn't somebody just pollute the fuck out of the groundwater on the Los Angeles desert basin?
Did that happen? Tell me.
No, this is how I remember it. As partially depicted in the Julia Roberts film, Erin Brockovich, that was the thing that she exposed.
Oh yeah.
Was that these people were dumping chromium 5 or chromium 6 or chromium 11 or something right from Xenu.
And it was based on a true story.
It's a real thing that happened, yeah. And so there's places all over the valley in particular where there's signs up that warn you against drinking the water because it's contaminated chromium. And I think this is why everybody started carrying around their own little individual bottles of water, is because people didn't want to drink the LA water, which already smells like fishy assholes. And now it's got...
It does.
And now it's got... I don't understand why they can't crack the water problem. You know what? Is it so hard to desalinate seawater, or what is it? I have no idea. I don't know the technology.
You know what? That's my question. Like, shouldn't we do that? Isn't that like a thing? We have all this ocean and it's, I mean, I know that there are plants that do it. So
no, there are desalination plants in like Israel. That's how they manage. And there's some in California, as far as I understand. But I don't know why they don't do them. Instead of importing water from Oregon and the Colorado River, which is drying up.
And stealing it from the aqueduct from all the other cities that are supposed to be getting it. We just route it to us.
How very Chinatown. Jack Nicholson should make a movie.
It's pretty cool.
That's what Chinatown's about. It's about this like illegal plot to divert the water into the valley so that they can plant orange trees or something. I forget which direction the water's going, but it doesn't matter. The point is, people have been stealing water in Los Angeles since the dawn of time.
LA wasn't supposed to have water. When it was first, found it, there was no water source.
Right. It's a ridiculous place to build a city. And the only reason it's so populated is because of the gold rush. Like there was gold out here. That's why people came out to California originally, was the gold and the bear hunting. So it's a ridiculous place to build a city because there is no prominent water source. It is a desert.
I love going.
It's a bowl. It's a bowl of desert, and like part of it is the Santa Monica Bay, but it's all, it's a big crater, and you're just sitting in a big crater like a bunch of bums. I don't get it, but all right, go ahead.
It's wild. I love going to other places, like other states on the East Coast, where they're like actually have historical buildings. Like our buildings were built in like 1920s. Right. Like we're not that old.
And then Europeans make fun of just America in general because they have like really old shit, and in America we tear down shit. We have restored this building to how it looked almost 50 years old.
Yeah, but like I bet when was your building built? Like,
no, this is like an old building, pre-war, somewhere in the before the.
I wonder what kind of shit has gone down in your room, like after all that time.
I'm pretty convinced the previous tenant had passed away because I still get her mail all these years later. I've been
like in the home.
Yeah, or something. I don't know, maybe somewhere else, but somebody didn't Somebody didn't get notified because I am still getting her mail 7 years later. And I tell the mail person carrier, and no, they put in a change.
Yeah, they don't
okay.
care sometimes.
Well, whatever. I don't know. They don't really know. And then people don't want to say, I don't know. So they just make up an answer, especially in New York City. Nobody will say they don't know. Nobody. You know what's funny about New Yorkers?
What?
I've just been thinking about this because the sort of stereotype of New Yorkers being hostile or rude or something, right? And I think that New Yorkers, especially in the city, are just really, really anxiety driven and really, really scared. Living in that city is really terrifying. The first week I was here, I saw a bus hit an old lady. I watched a cab completely, didn't hit him directly, just totally nail a guy who got thrown onto the sidewalk. And the cab didn't even slow down. It just kept going. He didn't even slow down. So like, I'm just saying, like, it's a scary
New York City.
Right. And so like, they're always shouting at each other. Everybody's always screaming at each other so unnecessarily. It's very difficult to get a New Yorker to turn it down a little bit. And I'm like, California, like, sorry, dude.
Leah Remini's mom was my teacher at Academy for Smart Kids for many years.
Smart, extra special.
Yeah, we were super smart, but she scared the shit out of me. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the New Yorker.
She scared the shit out of me. She was a New Yorker, and I wasn't used to that. I was too sensitive. I was like, "Who are you? Why are you yelling?"
And I don't understand what you're yelling. I'm not yelling at you. I think you are. No, I'm not. How many New Yorkers I've heard do that? I'm not yelling. They're screaming at the top of their lungs. I'm not yelling. Yes, you are. You are yelling. My favorite teacher was Miss McLean, and she was from New York, and that was kind of what made her a little scary and really cool. Was that because I was on the decathlon team, so I had opportunity to be in her car with her a bunch of times, and that was the first time I ever heard somebody like scream bloody murder at people in traffic. You fucking face. She just had a potty fucking mouth in the car. It was crazy. And when you're 14 and she's your English teacher, you're like, shit, this bitch is crazy.
Oh yeah, I think the car rides with Vicky was the only time that I realized she was like really nice, because she would speak normally.
Oh, she was nicer in the car.
To get ice cream.
When she was
she was nicer in the car. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
She didn't fuck around.
Miss McLean was much nicer in the job. And then a beast in the car. An absolute beast.
That's wild. Wait, why were you in the car with her, though?
Oh, sex. I'm kidding. I was on the decathlon team. I used to be smart. I used to be really smart. I was on the decathlon team, but I was so lazy, I wouldn't read the stupid red pony. It's so boring. And I didn't read it, and I got kicked off the team. But I did get invited to Passover. I got to go to her Passover Seder at her house.
That's cool. I've never been to a Passover.
I've been to a bunch. They're fun.
Interesting.
I found there's a thing in the ceremony where they hide matzah somewhere, and the kids have to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And her husband is like 1,800 feet tall or something. He's a crazy tall motherfucker. And so he hid it at the top of a fucking bookshelf, and I was the tallest of all the kids. So I was like, oh, there it is.
That's fucked up for kids.
I felt like I cheated, but I was only 14. What's that? Is that too old to be searching for the matzah? I had not bar mitzvah yet.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know the customs, but it doesn't sound too old to me.
I don't know. I was just going along with it. Just go with the flow. That was the first time I ever talked to a Holocaust survivor. Was at that Passover.
Oh shit!
With a tattoo on his arm and everything. Really, really loving the carrot stew. There was like this carrot soup that he ate his and mine.
That's funny. You have like a flashbulb memory of that and the carrot stew.
Yeah. I will never forget it because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
I love the matzo ball soup from Jerry's Deli. That is bomb.
I do really like matzo ball soup.
Yeah.
Pastrami is one of the greatest things in the world. That was something. The the deli on Franklin, on the corner of Franklin and Bronson. I can't remember I'm trying to remember what it's called, but I can't remember what it's called. They made a great pastrami sandwich.
Franklin and Bronson.
Right there across from Mayfair. Before
Yeah.
America became Gelslings or Gelfling or whatever it is.
You mean Tang's Donuts?
No, there is a donut, and there's also a Chinese restaurant. There was a video store. There isn't
Yeah.
anymore, obviously.
Yeah.
But the largest unit in that little strip mall was a deli. It was a classic kind of New York style deli, Jewish deli.
It's a health food
That makes sense.
kind of lunch
That makes far
and
more
dinner
sense.
place now.
That makes
Yeah,
more
they
sense.
make really good vegan pastrami sandwiches now.
Hilarious. Oh my goodness, the times they are changing. There we go.
Works
That's
for
like
me.
some sort of full circle there.
I know, right? Do you
I'm gonna
remember Mayfair and how fun that was? It's obviously Gelson's now.
I like to mispronounce it because it'll always be Mayfair for me. And even before that, it was something before it was Mayfair, to be honest. But I don't remember what.
Remember
No, that was
Pritzi's
the best.
Pizza?
That was I was just gonna say this. Like I was actually thinking about Bourgeois Pig earlier. The Bourgeois Pig, the Daily Planet, Pritzi's Pizza, Birds, La Poubelle, a Counterpoint. Is Counterpoint still there? That was one of my favorite places in the world. Damn. Counterpoint.
It's the Oaks Gourmet on the corner now, and it's really bomb. They make sandwiches and they have alcohol. It's super good.
Party. Yeah, like that's funny because that block started like pretty calm. I remember when Pritzi's was just a one little hallway of a space with a little counter, and that's it. And I watched that expand into what that became, and it was a really hip place the last time I was even there. It had already been super hip. Birds was our preference. That was the place we hung out more than any. I never liked going to La Poubelle, but like really cool people hung out there. Like, and I don't mean the Danny Masterson crowd, but I mean like Paul Thomas Anderson and Fiona Apple and people like that.
Yeah.
And there's a theater there underneath, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
there's
there an
still the
actual
theater, the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater.
Oh, it's an Upright Citizens. It wasn't them, but that's cool. That's cool.
And there used to be a little witchcraft store along the way. That's obviously not there anymore, but that was real fun, like stones and stuff.
But the Bourgeois Pig was great. That was, I mean, it was horribly pretentious, but I love that. It's their little velvet.
Yeah, I think it's still there.
I would imagine. I don't know. Coffee shops aren't as popular as they used to be. So, or maybe they're back. It's a Starbucks. It'll be a Starbucks. Starbucks would have bought Bourgeois Pig and the Daily Planet. Starbucks.
Starbucks is giving out free straws today, everybody. I work for Starbucks. I have my I got my plug-in. No, I don't really work for Starbucks. I just patronize them too often.
It is, and I'm chagrined that they have plastic straws. I thought they would have made the paper changeover. I'm surprised. For shame.
Now today only a heavy-duty reusable straw.
Oh, reusable. That's different. Okay, it's a reusable straw.
Yeah.
That's a different vibe.
Reuse,
recycle.
That's why I'm hyping it up so much.
Repurpose, reuse, repurpose, recycle.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, Abby?
So what's a week in Danny's life look like? Like, what are you up to out there? Are you writing tunes? Like,
why do people ask me these questions? I don't know. I hesitate very, very well. No, I've been actually working with. Okay, there's a dude. Remember, I mentioned the dude in Jersey. His name is Brody, and he actually has sent me a track. He actually remastered something off of YouTube. He pulled something off of YouTube and mixed and mastered it or something. I haven't really listened to it yet, but so that happened. And the idea is to get him to help me record new stuff. And yes, I'm always writing new things. There's a new thing here. But it's a compulsive, like taking a shit. I write songs. I do it all the time, even when I don't want to. And even when I'm trying not to, even when I like in the MRI machine, I was writing a song.
It's your calling, that's why.
It's my compulsion. I guess that's the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's the impulse to my addiction, but I love you. That's my song. I can sing that one.
Ooh, I like it.
Do
you ever go out to like blues clubs or anything like that out there? I know they have.
Well, that's what's so fucked up is that I when I was a drunk, I did all that stuff. I went to all the places, all the cool places. I played a show with Lady fucking Gaga, man. I was first in the bill and she was the headliner. We were very far apart from each other, but that happened. I still have that flyer.
That's sick.
And right before she broke, and she performed with Lady Starlight. There's a duo.
I know Lady Starlight. I remember my best friend was on tour with Gaga for many years doing her makeup. And so Lady Starlight and us, we used to kick it before the shows or whatever. She's really cool. She's awesome.
Yeah. And we know Nebraska, the guy that she refers to as Nebraska, is worked at the bar that my friend Paul worked at, called something Riverside. No, it was on Riverside. And it was a playoff Fast Times on Riverton. That's what it was. Rivington. Doesn't matter. The point is, we knew some of those people, not all those people. But I knew some really like genuinely.
That would have been sick to have a video of that.
Yeah. There probably is a video of it somewhere. I wouldn't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there wasn't, it wasn't. Not everybody had a handheld device back then. It wasn't quite as common.
True.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was thinking about that about a guy called Dylan Nirvana, and he was. I stayed with him for a little while, and he used to come in sometimes just in the middle of the night, and he was at the bar downstairs or something. I'd be dead asleep, and he would just come in. Something happened downstairs, and he'd come upstairs and he'd bang out a song about it, whatever it was. Cut it, mix it, whatever it was, and that was it. And he just did it. He would just do it like that, and I loved it. I really admired that. I really loved how much he didn't give a shit that I was asleep on the floor.
I love that. Did you have a sound studio or what?
No, that was him. That was his place.
Oh, you were like, "Hi."
That's my problem.
I had a special visitor up here on my lap. This is Bruno Mars.
Hi, Bruno. I think I've seen him before. He looks camera shy. He looks like
he's like, I'm napping, mother.
How old is he?
He's about 11 now.
Yeah, he's got some age on him. I don't know where
all my three babies are seniors now.
My poor girl is passed out on the floor. She's barely an adult.
She's a puppy, right?
Well, she's a year and a half. What does that count as?
Okay. Yeah, a year is like an adult now.
So yeah, I think she's full grown. She doesn't look, she doesn't have the puppy paws no more. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And she certainly looks at me like a grown up. Like, when she first came to us, she was so shy and so cautious. Like, didn't know she could is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? And so it's so much fun to watch her kind of assert herself and be like, I'm gonna sit here now, or I want to go this way on the walk. And you're like, all right, let's go this way on the walk.
That's cute.
It's fun to watch her get more.
One of my dogs is a very shy girl, and so whenever I see her, doing that, I'm like, go Stella, get it. Like
oh yeah. And there's the flirting. She's very flirty, my dog. I call her a hood rat. She flirts with all the boys. She flirts with all the boys. And particularly,
are there lots of dogs in the building?
There's lots of dogs in the neighborhood. There's a few dogs in the building, but there's lots of dogs in the neighborhood. And it's a neighborhood full of rescues and pit bulls and half pit bulls and mixes and things like that, So everybody's having a good time with it, I guess. It's funny though, because there's a lot of people training their dogs, and so they're not as friendly in the walk. And I feel like people are training their dogs to be like guard dogs or work dogs, but I don't think they're supposed to be. They're pets, but I'm not sure. But keeping a big dog or a dog of any size in a small New York City apartment takes some discipline on all fronts. So
for sure,
I suppose it's better to have an over-disciplined dog than, but she's still small enough. I don't know. I feel like I under-disciplined her, but I don't know what to do about it. I don't want to discipline her.
Is she anymore. A bad girl?
No, but she will jump up on boys. She'll jump on boys, and she gets a little too aggressive, a little too dominant, not aggressive, but dominant. She's not aggressive at all, but she gets too dominant. And because she lives with two guys, and so she goes out and she's like, "Hey, boy," and she wants to jump on him the way that she can jump on me, or the way that I jump on her, and some people are really turned off by that. And I don't know.
Control your dog, please. Thank
you. Right, and I don't want to control her. I mean, I do, but I don't want, whatever. And then there are people who love it, who you come across and you're like, "Is it okay if we bounce?" Oh yeah, they're bouncing. It's okay. Yeah. Some people don't like when the bouncing starts. And some people are fine with it. So I don't, you got to
my dog jumps on everybody and she's 60 pounds. So,
Yeah, I don't even know.
There's
she's
that.
Probably more like 40. The retriever, right? You have a golden lab?
Golden Shepherd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's a German Shepherd Golden Retriever mix.
Dogs. I used to think I was a cat person. I guess I kind of still am, but I love this
I used to
dog
think
so
I was
much.
a cat person too, and it changed once I got a dog. I mean, I love all of them, but like I'm definitely a dog person.
Well, I feel like when you're younger too, cats are better because they're a little more independent. And yeah, I love when people who don't like cats complain. Their complaint is, I think, what I do like about cats, which is that they're a little bit feral. They do kind of look at you
Yeah.
sometimes like, if I was any bigger, I would eat. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what we like about them. I grew up playing with actual
They're
feral
wild.
cats. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're a little bit wild compared to dogs, which are completely domesticated and fucking in love with us. So it's
Yeah.
a different relationship.
You have to fight for their affection and like
Yeah,
you feel
yeah,
special when they come to you.
yeah. And I always love it when people say that cats don't like them, and it's like, no, they just understand that you don't like the cat. You don't like the cat. That's why
Yeah.
it seems like the cat doesn't like you, because the cat knows that you don't like the cat, so the cat's staying away from you.
At the Shangri Lodge, everybody had cats.
Yeah.
I don't think we were allowed to have dogs.
No, there were no dogs. No, you weren't allowed to have dogs.
Yeah.
A lot of people had cats. We had cats. We had a bunch of cats. We had a famous cat, Spaz. Do you remember Spaz? That was a cat. Everybody knew our
No.
cat. We had a great big gray and white, like part Mancoon, presumably. He was huge. He was massive. And he had extra toes and extra fingers and extra digits.
Oh
on
my
his paws.
God.
And he was just like, he was like a person. And he would sit in a chair like a person, and he would hang out like a person, and you thought he was paying attention. He would
That's
come
so
up
cool.
and take stuff off your plate on a table like a dog might try to, because he was big enough that he could reach to the top of the table,
Yeah.
and just his paw, the little white paw, would come up and be like, take it. You're not a dog, get down.
I love cats like that.
Yeah, he was, and he did the weirdest thing, which I think is sort of a brooding thing, when he would like gather blankets or towels sometimes. And he would only do it when nobody was around. But every once in a while,
Like with his mouth? Like
yeah,
he
in
would
his
drag
mouth,
towels
and he would
around?
drag a whole
Wow.
quilt between his legs, making a noise the whole time. But he had to.
I don't
forget
think
you
that's
were
a
there.
regular cat.
Yeah, I would do, but I don't know. But like, he was literally. I mean, I think it's a thing. Like, he's nesting. Like, he thinks he's making a nest or
Yeah.
something. Like, he's having kittens. Like, that's what.
Yeah.
Right. So he's a trans cat. I don't know. Cat trans putty.
Hey,
I mean, once
why
you cut their
not?
balls off, it's kind of a done deal.
I remember your mom's apartment right off the pool.
We had
That was like
we had
her-
the pool
her
access.
spot.
We had the pool
That was
access.
the really like the good apartment because everybody would be at the pool partying, stop by Sue's house, say what's up.
And we always have the sodas. Because remember, we did the vending machine, so I always have the sodas.
I checked out. They're
And my-
renting those apartments for like $1 bajillion now.
Oh, I can't imagine. I mean, I can't. I'm embarrassed by what they charge for this apartment. That I don't have to pay it, luckily, but the regular asking price for this place is just, it's stupid. But I don't
It's
understand.
ridiculous.
But I don't understand money. I never did.
What's your take on money?
The root of all evil, I think, is what it's known as. I think the profit motive in our capitalistic first world system is really the downfall of humanity, and why it's a whole thing. It's a serpent that eats its own tail, and it's done. It'll eat itself whole. And people now joke that we're living in end of late stage, blah, 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 late stage capitalism. Like,
Yeah.
it's dying. But like so much of the society runs on it, talk about too big to fail. Everything, so much of our human behavior is all just about the acquiring of the resources, the building, the manufacturing of the products, the shipping of the products, and the delivery of the products.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that seems to be our purpose as a species on the planet. We are just a big giant ant farm, just busy, or a beehive or something.
Productivity since like the 60s has gone straight up,
Right,
yet
but
sharing
has
of the
gone
wealth
down,
has
right.
gone exaczly the same, and it doesn't make any sense at all.
Right. No, there's a lot of the statistics kind of level out right about 1972. I think it has something to do with Nixon. But yeah, no, in my opinion, like the 70s were rough. The country went through a big recession because of a lot of things in the war. The end of the war was a big it was a big blow to everybody's system. At the end of the decade, everybody been assassinated. How many people got shot in the 60s? You know what I mean? And I think that in the 70s, America and the UK and other first world places were kind of in shock. And that's why all the cocaine and all the sex, we were kind of trying to work it out. But in the meantime, the real suppressives, the powers that be, or the hostile forces of the world, were not in shock. They were planning, and they were destroying, dismantling those things that actually did make America great in that way. That people want to make America great again. Well, let's reinstitute all those policies that your Republican friends undid over the decades that used to make America look the way you think America used to look. The 90% corporate tax rate, for example, was why Eisenhower's America seemed so profitable, because CEOs were forced to invest in their companies and pay livable wages, and even have jobs that were even superfluous, weren't even necessary. And in the 80s, in the name of efficiency, they got rid of all of that. They said, no, we pay them as little as we can. We hire as little people as possible. There's no extra. There's no, because we don't have to pay back that giant monstrous tax rate anymore. Now we can keep more of the money for ourselves. We don't have to reinvest in anybody else.
Yeah.
And so that's the greed of
Can
the
we
80s.
go back to before?
The hippies sold out, and they all became yuppies, and it fucked it all up. And it's Reagan. I really blame, there's a speech. You got to look it up online. It's Jimmy Carter. It's called Crisis of Conscience. And it's like a State of the Union. And they were in the middle of the OPEC oil embargo or whatever was going on. There was a big gas shortage. And so you've probably seen that footage of people in the 70s waiting in line to get gas, right? Waiting in these big long lines. And that wasn't about Jimmy Carter. That was about the international power of the oil industries as a whole, and a thing called OPEC, and really about Saudis. It was really about the Saudis flexing themselves. But that's beside the point. It cost Jimmy Carter the election. But he went on TV and he said to America, we have a choice now. We can either build back and try to make the world better for the world better, or we can isolate and just try to, or we can, grab more stuff. So what do you want? You want to make a better world? You want more stuff? And America very resoundingly said, we want more stuff. Very, very landslide election. Reagan just, he said, you want more stuff. So we'll make everything cheaper by making everything more dangerous and less reliable and less safe and less honest, because everything's cheaper that way, because it's easy.
Well, and deinstitutionalization, where they closed all the institutions.
Oh yeah, he closed all the institutions down, but didn't replace them with anything. Prison instead, exactly. And all of this, I feel, is a really dystopic sort of paranoid thought, but I feel like all of this is sort of towards a goal of ushering all of humanity either into a uniform prison or military or police. Everybody got to work for the man in some respect or another, whether you're
we have to
institutionalized slave in a prison or one of the people that keeps the rabble in line.
I mean, this better than anybody, really, because you've said fuck it and decided to try to live outside of it, outside of the matrix too. And you did. You survived. But it's hard as shit.
Survived is a very strong term. I don't know. Survived. They say what doesn't make you strong, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but they forget to tell you that it leaves you scarred, leaves you, weaker, maybe. And they there's that notion of the teacup that breaks, and then you put it back together with some sort of gold leaf, and now it's, even though harmed, it's prettier than it was before somehow. And that's supposed to be consolation. That's a consolation rainbow right there. That's a consolation rainbow right there. I'd rather not be broken than be so textured.
There's something to be said for resilience,
I don't know, as Tim Minchin says, just because things are tenacious doesn't mean they're so great. Not everything that survives, He's talking about religion, but you can say a lot of things. Anyway.
We have Russia and Ukraine in the house in the chat. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I forgot. I hadn't even looked at that. I mean, I keep looking at it, but I forgot to. Oh, there we go. Hey.
That's pretty rad.
Candy's like,
I
should be talking to these people. Just call me, Betsy. Betsy, call me. I'm
Just call me
adorable. Thank
Betsy.
you. Thank you, Candy. Greetings from Russia. See,
I
I
think
told
she
you
was
I have fans
talking
in
about my
Russia.
pup.
Oh, yeah.
You do.
I told you. I have fans in Russia. Fuck, I lived with a Ukrainian for 3 years. I should have some clout here, right? I'm sorry
That's
about the
incredible.
Crimea. You
No.
ever talk to Opie or Anthony? No, not really. Although I'm sure if I DM'd Opie, he'd talk to me. He's got a podcast. I could probably actually, if I have something to actually promote, I will actually probably do that. I'll probably reach out to Opie, and I'm sure he would indulge me.
Is that something you want to do, or is it just feeding into the capitalistic bullshit?
I don't want to die in this utility closet.
Okay, fair.
Okay? So I don't want to be a capitalist, no, but I don't want to die in this utility closet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I have a choice. Understandable.
There's nothing inherently wrong with money. I feel like,
and there's nothing inherently wrong with barter.
Challenging to talk about, but
money is just a bartering tool. You have a thing that I want, but I don't have anything you want, but he has something I want, and you have something he wants, and it just makes that exchange easier with money. That's what it's for. It's tokens to take the place of the goods or services that you actually want. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But we idolize money. We idolize wealth. We celebrate hoarding money. The same behavior that we chastise in the crazy cat lady or the hermit who stacks newspapers up to the ceiling in his apartment is the same mentality of people like Donald Trump, who just wants to, well, he's not really a hoarder as much. It's not really his money. I'm talking about people who actually make money. The people who actually make money, like his father. They were, they hoard the money. And now even more than ever. And this is the one, Bernie Sanders, the 1%, blah, blah, blah. That's what it's all about. It's about this hoarding of money.
Yeah.
And the mythology of trickle down, this idea that if you give all the money to the rich people, that somehow they'll spend it so frivolously that there'll be crumbs that will dribble down to all the rest of us. But not only is that a condescending, asinine concept to begin with, that's not how it works. The little chalice at the top of the tower just gets bigger and bigger. They just save more and more and go, nah, none for you. Sorry, not this week. We didn't have any excess this week. Sorry. And it's bullshit. It's a bullshit ploy. It's a bullshit plan. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
It's just wild how so many people can have so much money in our country, yet there's so many people without a roof over their heads.
No, it's insane. And that's the point of like liberalism and social services and welfare and these sort of things, is if we're going to justify having as much wealth and hoarding as much wealth as we do, 85% of the world's resources go to America. That was in the 90s. I don't know if that statistic is still true, but it's probably worse. Either way, if we're going to justify being that much of a fucking pig, we better be able to like help people out that can't. Trickle down is a myth. Yeah. It's a lie. It's a great big lie. The Reagan, again, it's Reagan. Oh yeah,
he really
he's the guy.
Sold so many people on that.
He deregulated
the
everything.
Middle class is dying. Absolutely.
The middle class is dead. Whatever you think of as American middle class right now is actually just sort of poor people being propped up in little tiny ways. There really isn't a middle class.
Yeah. There's no middle class at all.
Because it compresses. You know what I mean? Like, people will argue that there's supposed to be inequity. Yes, of course there is. And people think that it's, a kind of, like that. But no, it's like this. The graph actually just shoots a mile off the fucking chart. And we know about graph paper, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do.
Scientologists have stock in that shit, or should.
You gotta have money to make money, and that's why the thing about YouTube, it is cool to get monetized.
Capital. You have to have capital.
Yeah,
it is capitalism, and yes, the easiest form of capital is cash, but a talent or an ability or an invention or an idea or that's all capital also.
That's a good point. Even an idea would be capital.
Yeah, everything is that's the way you're supposed to think in this American blah, blah, blah. Everything is capital.
I think people really base their value on how much money they have, and that's the
problem. The worth is the wealth. Your wealth is not your worth.
Yeah.
And too many people think their wealth is their worth, and that's the bigger problem. Again.
And I don't like talking about money. Like, I really regret. Yeah.
It's not the problem. It's the way that we are about it.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable to talk about money too. And it's hard for me to like assert like how much I need to make. But at the same time, like, I have a dog that needs a surgery. Like, that shit's not going to pay for itself, Like, there's nothing wrong with making money.
And I don't want to die in a
Still
utility
working on
closet.
that. Yeah. And my friend Danny here doesn't want to die in a utility closet. So can we just like
It's
make
just
some
mops
things
and brooms in
happen?
here. Yeah, my dog needs to be fixed. She hasn't even been fixed. And I'm sure there's some
Oh
places that
man.
do it for free. Certainly in the 90s, they were trying
Yeah.
to spade and neuter every fucking dog cat they get their hands
Yeah.
on. So I
There will
can't
be.
imagine
There'll be places you
there's
could do it
still
for
gotta
free.
be. Because
Yeah.
that's
And
one of
it's
the
better
problems
for
with all the
her
flirting.
cancer wise. Like it's a lower cancer rate
I'm
when they're
sure it's better
spayed.
for a lot of reasons. Better for temperament, better for she'll gain weight. That's the downside sometimes. Other than that. I work her though. I run
Yeah.
that dog hard at night. Oh, that sounds bad. But tennis balls. All I need. We have a
With
we have
tennis
a
balls in New
we have a
York
fan-
City?
we have a fantastic little routine. We have 3 different spots that we go to, and we have a game with the tennis balls.
Yeah.
And this is the joke of my little joke about her as a breed, because she is a mixed pit bull and chocolate lab. And so this is a boutique breed. People keep asking me how much she costs. I was like, we rescued her literally from,
Yeah.
so whatever. We didn't pay for her. The point is that she's a coveted kind of breed. I didn't know that. And then people kind of look at her like, that's a pretty dog. I'm like, yeah, she is. Anyway, so I feel like the banjos are about to play. But bang, 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 bang. Anyway, so like, yeah, okay. So she loves, because she's a retriever, right? She loves fetch. She loves run, catch the thing,
Oh, yeah.
run back. Oh, love it. So excited. But because she is a pit bull, she doesn't want to give it back. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's hard to get it back from her. Or the first time I threw a stick and she got thrilled. Oh, she'd never done this before. Nobody had ever thrown a stick before. And she took off. Crazy. She gets the stick and she's chewing on it the whole time. By the time she gets back to me, she's chewed it down to this little piece that is now wedged down her throat. And I had to throw my fucking hand down her throat and pull it out. I'm dead ass. And
yeah,
it was like the moment I fell in love with this dog, right? For real.
You saved her life.
And I knew never throw another stick. And so balls. So we go through balls, and we tried some balls, and she tears those balls up. And then we tried some other balls. Tennis balls are the best balls. But even then, now I have to have 2 balls, because you throw the one ball, she goes, she runs, catches the ball, she runs back, and sometimes she'll give it, drop. I have a command, and sometimes she follows it, but sometimes she just doesn't want to give it, and sometimes she wants to play the tug of war game. You know, but I don't want to play that game with a tennis ball. We have a rope for that game.
Yeah,
I don't want to play that game with tennis. Anyway, so it's the easiest thing is just to have a second ball. So as soon as she sees the second ball, she drops the first one in anticipation of the second.
Smart
so that it's
girl.
Just a sight, and then I can just sit on the bench.
Yeah, you do that in the park or something?
Well, we do it there's a school, a junior high, like a middle school, and they have a big basketball courts and playground, and that they leave open at night. And there's just, the kids teenagers hang out there. Or sometimes people are there actually playing basketball at night. And there's a handball court.
Yeah.
And then Prospect Park. I don't go to Prospect Park at night though. Because somebody give me a thumbs up about not going to Prospect Park at night.
How did that just happen? I don't understand these. Like, how did that?
Or is that just some random thing? Okay.
It showed up on our screen. I pulled this one up because this is a good one. Once your soul has been enlarged by the truth, it can never return. Yeah, that's a really good quote.
I love that. Yes, rescue dogs really do rock. They really do. They really, really do.
Yeah.
And it's and this is one of those things about becoming a dog person. It's such a cliche to say, did I rescue her? Or is she rescuing me? You know what I mean? But I do really honestly feel that way. Every time I feel like hell or shit or just like that. And I got to walk the dog. You know what I mean? I got to get up and get to Target before it closes or whatever it is to get dog food, or she won't have breakfast. You know what I mean? Like that is a thing now. And it has to go and it has to be, and you can't not do it.
Yeah. It's an anchor.
And she's worth it. The return is huge, as far as just the companionship, the somebody to talk to in that weird sort of way that we do. She's got a voice that I've made up for her and everything. Responsibility, yes, but even more than that, it is the sort of like motivation to live that I'm still kind of stumbling with sometimes.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, responsibility, yes, but I feel like it's even a greater narrative than that.
It gets dark in here, like PTSD is no joke, and so having to first of all, having to do something, whether you have to walk the dog or have to go get something from the store, it really does make a difference. And then you also get that love and affection and like that special connection. They really are children.
And the rescue dog, like there is a gratitude, and they are just so grateful. She's so, every time I feed her, she's like, oh my God, thank you. You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
yeah,
you're welcome.
You know, I have fostered over 100 homeless dogs through my house.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's wild. See, if I could do that, I would totally do that. I would totally do that kind of thing. I would open a fucking rescue shelter.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, and the best part is she loves carrot sticks and Brussels sprouts and broccoli. Like,
yeah.
it's crazy.
She's healthy.
Like, it's super easy to give her a treat and not worry about it because carrot sticks suffice. I don't have to give her like a milk bone or whatever. And I wonder about those rawhide things. Are those okay? No.
No.
What is it about?
They might choke on them. If you're watching her, it's okay. But then they get like long and stringy, and then they could like choke on it.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's interesting. Okay. All right. My sweetie is a faster failure.
Yeah, that's what we call it in the biz. We call it the foster fail. Like it
the foster. I thought it was a
foster.
Oh, foster.
No. You start off as the foster, and then you fail. You adopt
the carrots
it.
Do not fully digest. Not fully, no. I break them up.
You see it come out the other end.
But there's like corn, like when we eat corn.
Yeah.
There's visible carrot in her food.
I make my dogs homemade dog food. So this week they had brown rice, steak, vegetables, and sweet potato and kale.
Yeah, I make her brown rice too sometimes. She has brown rice too. But I can't afford to make to give her as much meat, actual meat, like chicken. I do give her some, whenever I make chicken, I always cut off some pieces for her and stuff like that, but I can't afford to do it. And I keep seeing this ad for this like natural food, like the opening shot is a really sad dog and the dry food is dropping in the metal ball. And it's like, it's an insane cruelty.
The shame, the shame.
Ever. Right, yeah. And the look on that
How dare face. You?
The look in the dog's face, the look in the dog's face. All right, it just absolutely gets me. Like they nailed me in the head. And then he talks about, here's
you know who got me? You know what ad got me? I am on mushroom coffee now because Eva Mendes keeps selling it. And every ad I was seeing was like, you drink regular coffee or mushroom coffee? So now I drink mushroom coffee. And
what
it's
is that?
Way
coffee
cool.
made from mushrooms, not from coffee beans.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's made from a bunch of different types of cordyceps and like different things that are good for your brain.
I've seen a couple ads for these things that are like coffee replacements. And I guess I haven't investigated well enough to understand what they're made of, but that's probably, I think I've seen an ad for this.
I think there's a little bit of real coffee in there, but then they just add all the mushrooms.
Okay. No, and then of course I just had a flashback. I don't know if you remember this, you might, but my mother and probably other people we knew at a certain point was growing an actual mushroom in the living room in a big giant bowl, like a big mushroom cap that she kept under a cheesecloth in like a solution of vinegar and tears of angels or something. And it presumably was supposed to like, rejuvenate things and make people.
They have them on Amazon right now. Lion's mane. You can order the box, and then it is so weird
to me how much of the weird counterculture oddities of my childhood become mainstream, regular. Like you just Whole Foods and Trader Joe's alone. That all of that is so mainstream now. It's so funny.
Even Emergency.
Perfect. Yes, I thought the Scientologist made Emergency. I was shocked.
So did I.
Saw that in the store. I was like,
we were the only ones who drank Emergency for a very long time.
So funny. That is so fucking hilarious. Yeah,
and even Calmag has gone mainstream.
Calmag, and just the notion of the calcium and the magnesium, the way that the magnesium is what you need to get the other things to work better. I think that idea is like.
I'm pretty sure Peter Gillum or Janice or one of them came up with the recipe for the Calmag.
It was Gillum's recipe that we were selling. It was all about that.
That's what we were about. Did you ever drink the Calmag on the Purif?
Not on the Purif. I didn't do the Purif. I ducked that one. No, I didn't want to.
Wow.
It was expensive.
Yeah. I begged to do it
back then.
Yeah.
I could probably use one now. I'm in the sweatbox right now. I need some niacin.
I have a whole thing. I love sitting in a sauna after like my childhood in a sauna.
No, I'll tell you, the Swedes got the right idea. Yeah, a sauna is a brilliant thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good reasons to sit in a sauna. In fact, they have saunas in the Burger King in fucking Norway and places like that. Like, for real, they love a sauna. Amen. I'm just saying, like, the niacin. I had the worst reaction to niacin. Niacin just fucked me up, and it probably because I'm just a drug-riddled psychopath. You know?
No, it fucked me up too. It would give me the worst headaches.
But I used to, but Calmag is that thing that was forced on me as a child. And in fact, I found out when I was in my 20s, one Thanksgiving at my sister Kelly's house, that my mother had been secretly putting Calmag in the grape juice all my life.
Oh my gosh.
Like, not a horribly malice thing, but kind of weird, right? Am I wrong? I don't know.
This person says too much calcium can clog your arteries. Too much magnesium can lead to the shits.
The shits.
I didn't know that.
That's the too much vitamin C. That's one of those selling points of some of the better kind of like the health food people. Like, that's kind of the selling point, is the worst that can happen is the shits. And that's how you know if you're taking too much. How you know take too much? You get the shits. Take less.
But that's like every vitamin. That's vitamin C too.
Vitamin C is very much the same way. Enzymatic.
So nice. We have all these nice people in our chat hanging out with us.
Shaka Khan. I met Shaka Khan at CC. I don't think she's a Scientologist, but she was there.
Wow.
She was there with her.
What was she doing? Just like with the president's office?
She was standing at the front desk. I was just in there picking up a communication from somebody, just passing off an envelope. She was right there, and I went, hi, and I got all, hi. And her dude, like the guy, this gigantic, like, she's tiny, and her gigantic man. There's like a few people standing around her, but there's one gigantic man, and he just smiled at me. So like, he just thought I was so funny, and she was like, hi. And I was like, she was not Southern. I don't know why I gave her a Southern accent, but hi anyway. That's not how she talked. But she was just very sweet. She just saw me get starstruck, and like, I think the best kind of celebrities do, they go, you're all right. It's all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Whereas like John Travolta just stands there and snickers at you. Some people kind of like, yeah, he used to come in a shot too.
Oh, wow.
And Jet was our patient. Jet used to come in.
That's so like low budget for the Travolta shot.
Well, it was about the specific of the Scientology care, right? The Scientology version of healthcare, which was genuine healthcare. Yes, they were real doctors. People always ask that question. We had medical doctors, we had chiropractors, we had a DO at one point. We even had a barber. We had naturopaths and homeopathics. We had an Indian couple, a lovely elderly Indian couple who had a whole homeopathic pharmacy. Whatever you think of that, I'm not even going to get into it. But
yeah, it's a whole other conversation. Homeopathy,
right? And then like Dr. Price was very much into something called the Vax machine, which is a lumbar repairing thing. That like it kind of pulls your spine apart a little tiny bit and then back again, and it's actually much better for slip discs and things like that than the surgeries that often are done in lieu. So like, it was a cool place, progressive. It wasn't just hocus pocus. Like, it was cool.
At the time, it was super progressive.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, it's so funny to me how much of the stuff that was so fringe and counterculture is now so much more mainstream.
Totally.
Just the notion of a smoothie or wheatgrass or kale. Kale? These people are eating kale chips now. I remember eating kale and seaweed and wheatgrass. The wheatgrass shots. Oh, you gotta have the wheatgrass.
Do you remember Mrs. Gooch's?
Yeah, that was like a health food store with dry goods, right? She had a lot of nuts and grains, that kind of thing. There wasn't actually scooches. Oh, and kefir and things like that. That's what I remember going there to get. It was all wood, right? It was all like it looked like some sort of country
and they
store.
had like the bins, Yeah.
We used to go there all the time. It was right across the street from a great but Albertsons or something. And in that parking lot strip mall was like a little sushi place. I used to
It's still there.
Yeah. It's California sushi.
Yeah. No, the Mrs. Gooch's is now some other health food store, but it's still a health food store.
Yeah, I imagine it would have been bought out. But I remember that place, I like that place. And they have they have these funny little shopping carts. that I didn't ever see it anywhere else. Now you see them in New York. It's like a New York thing. Like you see those little short.
Are they like mini shopping carts?
They're like short nub shopping carts. They're small, but they're also short. You know, it's just a square basket instead of the rectangular basket.
You feel stupid pushing it?
No. Everything. There's a sort of compactness to everything in Manhattan. You know, everybody's kind of wedging through an odd little square, a weird little wedge space. They're really good at shoving things into tiny spaces, wedging things in like an alleyway, and they built a whole new building into it. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You see that all over Manhattan. It's kind of a trend.
Apparently, a lot of New York is just built on landfill, like garbage.
There are the edges of Manhattan have been filled in by landfill famously. Most of Manhattan is actually granite, which is why we can build the subways we do in a way that we don't have to dig as deep as you do in some places, because it's the most of Manhattan is a big granite rock. I believe, but I believe that's true. That's certainly what I've been told. And that's why the subways are the way they are. And so, yes, the Manhattan used to be only 10 blocks wide or 10 avenues wide. Now it's 13 or something, because there is a lot of landfill. Yeah. Staten Island is a lot of landfill as well. New Jersey, I think, is the landfill king of the universe, to be honest.
That's
New Jersey
wild.
Is, I think, just nothing. I couldn't believe it the first time I went like deep into New Jersey. Like if you're in Hoboken, or there's a few places that are like totally groovy, and then you get really into Jersey and it's so industrialized. You feel like you're amongst the Borg. You feel like you have moved into a whole nother world, a whole nother plane of existence, where it's like Mad Max almost, steam pipes and things on fire, and the smell. Just constant smell of industrialization and waste. And it's just like, it's so funny because I'm California, you know, we have all of that, but it's like we try so hard to contain it. And
they keep it away from people.
The state of New Jersey, it doesn't feel like they're trying to contain it. It doesn't feel like they're trying to contain it. I do not mean any insult. My father is from New Jersey, but I'm just saying, like, it does not feel like they're trying at all to like contain it. Just like Chris Christie didn't try at all to contain that belly. Oh, fat shaming. No, not fat shaming. No, we're not fat shaming. I was fat, I was fat, and then fat again. And once a fat kid, always a fat kid. Newark is the scariest place I've ever been. And I have been all over Eastern New York. Oh my God. Okay. This is a fucked up story. Okay. So I was living, I was living in a shelter in Manhattan on 2nd Avenue, the men's assessment shelter that used to be the infamous Bellevue psych ward. The whole building used to be the famous psych institution. And they shut it down a long time ago. They rebuilt a whole nother Bellevue that they rebuilt again. And I think they're going to renovate the old building into hotels or something. I don't know. But it's the kind of place that Terry Gilliam would set, you know, where he would cast as a hospital. That's what it looks like. It's a scary, institutionalized looking place. It's frightening. And I was
in Manhattan?
In Manhattan on 2nd Avenue. And I was 2nd and 30th, or 1st and 30th, rather. It's 1st and 30th. Not that it matters. Anyway, so I was living there and I knew this guy called Fico, Nicholas Fico. Maybe I shouldn't say his name, but Fico means handsome in Italian or Sicilian. He was Sicilian. He was of the Joe Pesci kind of like mode of person, little tough guy, little Jack Russell Terrier kind of guy. And he was addicted to certain things. And so one night, you know, sometimes it's hard to find things. Am I still on? Something just happened. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, something clicked or something. Anyway, and he couldn't find what he wanted, and it doesn't really matter what he wanted. So we decided to go to, oh yes, that's right, Newark in the middle of the night. I do not recommend going to Newark in the middle of the night. I do not recommend this. I do not like Green X. Newark was the most stereotypically that drive. Not even like you could go to the station, then we got a cab, and there was some arrangement, and I'm not really sure. I'm such a passenger on this journey. There are 3 other heads driving it, and we're coming down this highway, and it's kind of railroad tracks, and I'm watching as the area is getting poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer, and then we turn the corner onto what was comically the like Universal Studios backlot version of New York City slum. There is a garbage can on the corner on fire. There is the skeleton of a car in a vacant lot right there that has been picked clean of whatever was on it once before. There is a row of dilapidated brownstones. We stop in front. There's, you know, just everything. it felt set designed. I'm not kidding. It felt like I was on the
Yeah.
Universal lot. I'm not kidding. That's how on the
That's
nose
wild.
it was.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like when you go out in the middle of the night to get illicit drugs. And the door, we go up the thing and the door is gone. There's no door on the front, and you walk in and the door's over there. Okay, the door is still in presence. It's just not attached. We come around this weird little curve that I didn't want to go down. I don't know what's down there. That's the Joker. And again, like literally it's something out of a movie, up to the door, and the slat is open and a hand comes out and exchange is made, and we never see the guy. He never sees us. The slat is closed. We go back in. We go back outside. The other guy, there's another guy that Nicholas had pulled into this, who was really, this was his idea. And that's a whole nother story. That guy was fucked up. Anyway, the point is, I forgot about that. Okay, anyway, the point is that we come back out and him and the cab driver duck into the cab to have sex. And so me and Nicholas, to wait for them, we go up to the top of the block where somebody in their altruism and their hope for the future, some committee member somewhere issued and had built a playground, a fairly new playground. And we're walking into the play, and I'm really kind of noticing this kind of the slope. And I'm like, oh, this is almost pretty right here. And I'm looking at the moon. And then I notice crunch, crunch, crunch under my feet, like Indiana Jones. Those aren't fortune cookies, Dr. Jones. I'm crunch, crunch, crunch under my feet. Like, what the hell is that? And I look down, and the entire playground is littered with the little vials that crack and heroin come in. The little plastic vials that you buy your crack cocaine. The whole playground was just littered with them. Broke my fucking heart. So that's my New York story.
Were you getting crack?
He was.
Yeah.
I was smoking it with. Yeah, that was my 2 weeks of being a crackhead, was when I was with that dude, because I was mad.
That's it? Just 2 weeks? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. I'm definitely, there's people are into uppers or downers, and I'm definitely more of a downer.
Yeah.
I stayed away from certain things, but I did, I railed morphine and stuff like that for a long time. So yeah, I'm more
at what point after like being a Scientologist or like growing up as a Scientologist, at what point did you actually think like, I'm going to try a drug? Because for me, I didn't smoke weed until I was like 22.
Oh wow! Really well, late. See, yeah, I was the rebel in some respects in that way. But let me start with alcoholism. So alcohol was always present. My mother was a drunk. I had my first drink as she used to margaritas. She was obsessed tequila margarita. She loved tequila. She loved a blended margarita, and there were places we'd go that was a treat because it was like a restaurant, but she was really just there for the blended margaritas.
Like Acapulco.
I didn't know that. Yes, exactly.
I knew what you were talking about.
Not like Acapulco. Exactly, Acapulco. Thank you very much.
I had a feeling.
More than a feeling. Anyway, so to a kid, of course, a blended margarita looks like a Slurpee. And so she would like give me little sips of it and stuff. And then I learned how to sneak more. And you get an 8-year-old or whatever tipsy. And then she'd like kind of poke fun at me and make fun of me because I was like kind of a pedantic child. I was under a lot of pressure to perform as an all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful being.
For sure.
So I really tried. You know what I mean? I spent a lot of time. I realized that recently. I spent a lot of my youth circling a square, trying really hard to rationalize everything I was understanding about Scientology with what is real. And actually like the Wall of Fire, for example, like deciding in my head that that's where the Christians got the notion of hell from, is because they tried to escape and they have some subconscious memory of the fire. And that's the Wall of Fire. Ooh, secret information. Ooh, so special. Precious. Okay, so I'm sorry.
That's what they say. It's true.
That's the Gollum, that's the Gollum in it. That's the Gollum in it. That's the Gollum. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm such a weirdo. I wish I could remember what I was talking about, though.
No, I was asking you about your age when you started drugs, and you said it started with drinking.
So the drinking, it starts with the drinking. And then at a certain point when my sisters were gone, my mother kind of reinvented herself as a bit of a Hollywood party girl, because she started going to Hollywood parties, and it was just easier to take me with her because I was old enough to hold my own. I could carry on conversations with grown-ups. She brought me along like a party favor, and I was getting drunk at these parties. I was getting shit-faced. I was getting other things were happening. Abuses were happening at these parties as well. And anyway, so nobody was paying attention, right? And everybody was drunk. And so the alcohol meant something. And then as teenagers, we were all drunk alcoholics. There was drinking in junior high school. I can remember ditching class, a certain class, and you could get, after lunch, you could go to the 7-Eleven, you could get a bum to get you a thing, and you could get a Slurpee and then sneak that into theater class or whatever class that's at the end of the day, where you could just sit in the back and get, quietly tipsy. And then when I was, and then the Scientology crew, we were all drunks too, like it was drunks in school, it was drunks at home. There was drinking both places all the time.
You went to public school?
I had to fight for that. That's a whole story I want to tell you, but I really want to save it for another time because it's a long story. The story of the rise and fall and the failure of my personal public education and others. But it was Hollywood High School is what I'm talking about. The high school behind the Jimmy Kimmel live studio that you sometimes see. That was my high school. And go Sheiks. I don't think I've ever said that in my life. Sheiks was our guy.
Shout out.
Yeah, whatever.
That's
I don't
weird.
know. We had like the worst football team in the thing. Nobody cared. There was a performing arts school. So actually the nerds and the performers and the singers and those people got more credibility than the jocks in that school.
I mean, it's Hollywood High School,
right?
You're not looking at a football team.
Excuse me,
to
Vanessa.
Be the best
I have to correct you. It is world famous Hollywood High School. I worked in the office in lieu of PE at one point, and that's how they answer the phones. World famous Hollywood High School. How can I help you? World famous Hollywood High School, because Hollywood is world famous.
It's an arrogant way for a public school to answer the phone.
It was very funny, but it's LA. It's an arrogant place. Everybody's arrogant. Even the janitors. You know what I mean? Like everybody. Doesn't matter where you are. So the alcohol was very present. And then when I was 21, I made this conscious decision to stop drinking, to like kind of prove to myself, like, now it was only fun because it wasn't allowed, is what I'm trying to tell myself.
Yeah.
Right? So for a year I didn't drink. And then on my 22nd birthday, I started buying vodka for the freezer on a red. So just always had a bottle of vodka in the freezer, always, for years and years and years. You don't really realize how much you drink until you look back at it all. So all of that was to say, pot, on the other hand, came to us a little earlier because of Renee Talbot. I hope she don't mind me telling this story. But we stepped out in a big way, both Scientology born, Scientology parents, her father, not her mother, but we smoked some pot and we felt so naughty about it. And we got written up, there were KRs, and I had to go to ethics, and I was shamed.
You got busted in the beginning?
I got busted. I think I don't know if it was the first time. I don't remember. I might have confessed out of guilt. You know what I mean? Like I might have felt that fucked up about it. I don't really remember if somebody snitched or if I told on myself. I don't recall. But I remember being in ethics and being lectured about it. And the gay thing, and then being lectured about the gay thing. And then you write your ODubs. My ODubs include your overts and withholds. You have to write your ODubs. And this is what in a recovery they call I can't remember what it's called though. Not a catalog, but there's a version of this in the big book where you do all the inventory. You do an inventory. I'm writing that down because I don't want to forget that again. I'm turning into my mother, just making notes as I talk. So the inventory, and then that leads to that was the tragedy of it. Was the pot led to the confession of gayness, and nobody wanted to hear about that. Faggot, aberrated, aberrated.
Were you actually talking to people in ethics about this?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were just like doing your own thing and never got busted. I didn't realize that they were trying to handle you on it
all the time.
Did they put you in session?
They didn't put me in session over that. And again, I think it's really a money issue. Like we didn't have money for that. Most of the auditing I did was students, was like this. There was this generation of Scientology, like I want to say divorcees, who by today would be real estate agents. But back then they were all going to be FSMs. They were all going to be professional auditors. And I was I was the trainee audit PC for a lot of those women for a long time. So no, they didn't. I remember, they were going to put me in session when my dad died. There was a lot of promises along the way to go, we'll get you in session. But I wasn't thinking paywall. I wasn't, I actually had faith in a theology and a religion. I didn't think, well, I don't have the money. Well, I hope somebody's going to do that. It needs to be done. Let's do it. But then, it's no, there's money that costs money. So, I didn't even really know that. I wasn't really part of that conversation. These things just never happen. And then when that's the real butt ache, the butt hurt of the Scientology parenting of, we'll fix it later in auditing. But then, like, even if auditing did fix anything, they didn't really get me very much of that either. I get, and again, everybody was just waiting for me to get self-motivated for it. And it was like, I'm not motivated to get an auditing. If you want to audit me and fix something, go for it. But I'm not going to jump at that. That's a weird thing that makes me feel queasy inside. I don't like, I didn't like anything about it. I like holding those cans.
Well, especially if they were trying to audit you about your sexuality. I mean, who wants to do that? We
didn't ever audit that. I did get a lot of handlings. I was actually like pulled in by some like private group, some private company that like does third party delegate, for like, legal disputes between Scientologists because they can't sue each other. And I actually got pulled
like the chaplain and stuff.
Yeah. But like not a CC, not CC or AO, but like a private institution somewhere. Like they're making a business out of using LRH tech to do this thing. I don't even remember what it was exactly. It was people who were in couples counseling, and I come up in their couples counseling. But it's all about being a faggot. It's all about being a faggot because I was in love with this man who was married to a woman and who was my friend. They were both my friends, and I took care of their kids, and I love these people. But how do you know? It's a fucked up thing, and people get mad at you for a faggot when you're a faggot who falls in love with your straight friend. Sometimes your straight friend gets really mad at you, but it's not my fault. It's not our fault. And there's a great movie with Kristen Wiig and what's his name? I can't remember his name. Damn it. Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig play twin brother and sister, paternal twins who have been separated for a long time, and he's gay. And the reason they separated is because when he was in high school, he had an affair with the teacher, and she snitched on him. And so they haven't talked in like 20 years or something over this, right? So they finally have to get back together for reasons. And he makes this great speech in that movie about it's not fair. Like when you're gay, when you're queer, especially in his context of small town, there's no options. That you think you're the only gay person in the world sometimes, the only gay in the village. Whether you are or you're not, you still very often think you are. And the point he makes is you had boyfriends by the time you were 13 or something. And I was 18 and never been kissed, so this like need to have romantic involvement is there, whether there is somebody available to receive it or not,
Yeah.
And so sometimes it gets displaced or wrongly placed or whatever it is. And some people take that very personally, get very angry with you. And I don't.
Well, and I'm sure you felt
my options are your options are very limited. There's only so many queer people in the world. Your options are limited.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure you felt very lonely too, just being the only one who you thought was, gay in your circle, because you were probably hanging out with all Scientologists who were, if they weren't coming out with it, they were in denial. Like, did you end up finding out later any of your friends you grew up with were?
Well, Nora turns out to be a queer. No, Nora's a big old dag. Bless.
Yeah. You knew Nora back in the day?
Yeah. She was staff at CC when I was living at Shangri-La. I want to talk to her about it because I don't really know exactly what she knows or where she was for what. But what was I saying? Yeah, I think back at a lot of the people I knew, and especially, and it's true in a lot of sectors though. It's true of like hippies in general. There's a lot of queers hiding in the punk scene. There's a lot of queers hiding. Queers hide all over the goddamn place. And so it is often these sort of alternative spaces that are more welcoming, accepting of eccentricity or whatever it is that then, that's where the queers want to go and hide because that's easier, safer, not easier, safer.
Yeah.
So Scientology was certainly that for a lot of the people that I knew. My father was hiding. My mother, she was hiding, but then she got booted, so she had to figure something else out. But a lot of the people.
How'd she get booted?
Well, they changed the rules about kids. They bounced back and forth about that a couple
Oh.
times. But whether you have kids in the Sea Org, because they didn't really know what to do with kids when you had kids.
So your mom was in the Sea Org with your dad, and then she came out of the Sea Org when they made that?
They were married. They got married in the Sea Org, but within the Sea Org. My father, as I understand it, kind of ran away from home when he was a teenager. The way that past generations would have run away to join the circus, he ran away to join the Sea Org. And then my mother was trying to get out of a situation after her divorce from her first husband. And I think she just had nothing better to do. And she's a little older. She's actually of the silent generation. She's not a boomer. So the hippies were actually like younger than her, right? So my father was like 8 years older or something. And she is of there was a thing. There was a little sect of this sort of hippie movement that was like debutantes, like Patty Hearst, like people like that, dropping out of their socialite lives to go hang out with the dirty hippies. And my mother, in a way, was one of those women, I guess, in her way. I don't know if that's quite right, but it's an analogy.
How did she find Scientology?
She had some boyfriend in Seattle. I don't really know. Again, that's a detail I only recently learned. As she describes it, she made it sound like Scientology rescued her from her previous husband.
As one does.
Right. So she made it sound like they saved her from the horrible consequences of staying in Seattle. I don't know what those were. I can't imagine because my sister's family, his family had money and influence. Like his grandfather was a 4-star general. So I kind of wonder if maybe they wouldn't have allowed her to take off with his daughters had Scientology not been there to kind of whisk her off to Los Angeles. I don't know, but that's kind of the way she made it sound. But again, my mother was not a reliable narrator, and nobody else wants to fill me in on the details, even the people who dangle the idea that they have details to lend. So whatever, I just, have to meander through, ignorant as pig. Shit.
Yeah. You talk to your sister still? You in touch?
Not really. The last time I talked to Robin, she basically said, you know what? I don't care anymore. Just don't call me. And Wendy doesn't really, she always talks to me. I feel like she feels like she's talking to a feral animal. She's just very careful, very diplomatic, very well. Okay, I guess that's the way you see it. I was talking about how I think our mother was a very two-faced person. And I guess they didn't know that because she didn't let them behind whatever curtain she let me behind, because I saw her lie to people all the time. And there are people who knew her better. The fact of the matter is they didn't really know her that well. I was still living on the streets. I was still homeless, but I was staying in a place in the Bronx with some friends and for just a second. And so I was online and this is right before they put her in an institution, the place where she died. And 5 years later, and they were basically wanted to shame me for not participating in this process. They were very angry with me for not stepping up and taking responsibility for mother, as they had always assumed that I would. I believe, I don't really know this, but that's what I've gotten from what they say and do. They don't communicate themselves well, at least not to me. So I really got the sense that they thought I was supposed to step up and deal with this. And I was like, dudes, I'm living on the streets actually, for real. Like, this isn't lame. But even Kelly, like, there was somebody I know that I knew in common who I then did meet up with in New York. And she says to me, oh yeah, your sister says you're out having adventures in New York. I'm like, adventures? I mean, okay, that's a nice, glossy, pretentious way to put it. If that's what you want to do, Scientologist, asshole, bitch. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I shouldn't talk that way about my sister, and she's a really lovely woman, really, but stuff like that really gets in your craw. So, so Wendy, though, the middle sister, though, she contacts me and she says to me, Mom, I love this. I will always remember this. Mom is starting to act weird. So what do you mean? And she goes off and she tells a story about this, she tells a story about that, and whatever it is. And I'm listening and I'm going on. It was actually all in text, but it doesn't matter. And I realized, I stopped her. I was like, honey, she's been doing this shit since I was in high school. What are you talking about? Started. How blind
she was just letting the veil slip.
They just didn't know. They weren't actually around. And all they had was the weekly phone call. Mother regimentally called all three of them every Sunday or something. And she just, like a good propagandist, just told them whatever she wanted them to know, and they just believed that. And I think that, I don't know what the image is that she painted of me, but it's not good. None of those girls seem to have any sympathy for me and my problems. I don't know. I don't really know, because again, they do not communicate themselves well to me. Wendy likes to always reassure me that she does love me, but there does sound like there's an apology in it. Like, I'm sorry for whatever, but I do love you, really. But she's not telling me what the apology is for. Do you know what I'm saying? There's propitiation there, but I don't know what it's for. Kelly doesn't want to talk about anything deep, and she recommends that to others and myself. Oh, just don't get too deep. When you talk to mom, don't talk about anything real. She actually told me that as a recommendation of how to talk to our mother, when I was in the middle of trying to figure out what the fuck went wrong, what the fuck she was doing. What the, you know, I was just starting to come to the realization that maybe she wasn't right. That maybe she had,
that
it wasn't all my fault. Say what?
Did she end up having dementia, or what ended up happening? Yeah.
She literally, her body literally forgot how to swallow, and she choked on her own saliva. That's how she technically died.
Wow.
And that's what happens, because your body just forgets how to do the basics anymore.
So she was in a facility for like 5 years? Wow. Was it a old people's home, or was it a mental health facility?
it was I don't know exactly, to be honest. But those girls made a decent living for themselves, so I hope they put her in someplace decent. I think it was, but I don't really know. I saw a photograph of her in the place, where she looked like 1,000 years older than the last time I'd seen her. She was, there was a big,
I mean, if there's one thing our moms liked, it was smoking ciggies, and that doesn't always help with the aging.
My mother smoked a cigarette like she was sucking a dick. Whoa. Fuck.
Well, that's the title of this video.
Right? Oh, shit. Damn you, woman. Damn you. Damn you. You're right.
There it is. That's the line.
And somebody had mentioned on one of the other threads how all the all the Sino assholes they knew did chain smoke, and usually the worst cigarettes, often rolled their own. Yeah. And I remember like the cheap brands, and the red one, I'm trying to remember what it was called. I mean, Basic. Do you remember Basics?
Yeah,
you
Basics.
Didn't smoke, probably. Did you smoke? I don't even know if you smoked.
Oh, I started at like 13.
Oh, yeah. So,
as one does.
Yeah, sorry. We were all smoking. It's the
only thing we could do.
Form 13, as to paraphrase Freud, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, sometimes a cigarette is just a cigarette. But sometimes it really isn't just a cigarette. Yeah. And that's noticeable. There's a noticeable difference between the way somebody sucks on a cigarette when it's just a cigarette and when it's not.
Yeah, the amount of Scientologists who smoke is like out of hand. I know, still to this day.
Probably, I'm sure, because they're all nervous, fucking crazy, nervous people. They don't even realize. That's something I realized about coming off the streets. Something I realized about getting out of Scientology too. Even as, I had to get across the country before I even felt the relief. That's what I'm getting at. Like when you're there in the situation, the traumatic experience, you don't realize how traumatized you're being. You really, 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 really do not. And that I noticed both in growing up in the church and from being homeless on the streets. Like it's not until you're off the streets and not till a little while that you really remember, oh fuck, I was so fucking scared. I was so scared. But you're so busy with the crazy and the drunkenness or whatever, or the business. That's why they work Sea Org members to death, so that you cannot even have a moment to think for yourself.
There's no time to reflect.
Yeah, it's totally all a control tool. And so like I managed to put myself in situations that were just like that, just not as regimented or but almost as sanitary. Homelessness, almost as sanitary as the Sea Org. So yeah, you really don't realize until you're out of it how fucking scared you were, how petrified you were. That's just it. They're all so much scared. Even if they realize that they're scared, they're so much more scared than they realize they're scared, in my opinion.
When you were on the streets, did you have a weapon with you?
No, I really did kind of coast like some sort of weird, like happy Buddha. It's a
Wow.
weird thing to say because I never really felt in danger, even though I did. Things happen. I got beat up a lot. I went to hospital a bunch of times. There's a picture on my Facebook with a big black eye. That's not makeup. Somebody hit me in the face for being, I don't know, mouthy or something. There so many times there's stories, all sorts of stories of people like coming at me like that, and I don't even know why. I still to this day, I don't know what. I'm sure I said something, but I still don't know what it was. I don't really honestly know what it was. And a lot of it has to do with this sort of like obnoxiously way of being kind of blunt about things. Like there's a lot of stuff that people like pretend that I don't know about, like social norm stuff, pretentious within social norms. Like one that trips me up a lot is when somebody is trying to be nice and they're trying to ingratiate themselves to me. Like it's a compliment. But in that, they're lying to me about things that they think or they know, or they're trying to pay me compliments that are not. You just met me. You don't know these things. Why would you're saying this because you think it's what I want to hear? And then there's a part of me that's offended that thinks that you think that I have the kind of ego that wants to be complimented like this. Like that bothers me on top of all that. Like even customer service. I don't know if you've called customer service recently, but I think they've figured out how much Americans like to be flattered because they give us, there's a lot of flattery in the conversation, like weird, arbitrary. You're so very nice. I am. No, I'm not, but thanks, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe I'm nicer than I think I am, but I don't think I'm nice. So, stuff like that. Like everybody thinks that everybody wants to be flattered. Everybody thinks that everybody's got the ego the size of Jupiter. Donald Trump is our president.
A lot of people do.
So clearly we are an ego-driven monster nation. But it's not wrong. It's not completely wrong, but it's not completely right either. Of course, obviously, the truth is in the middle. Yada, yada, yada. But I had a point. I'm sure I did.
I think you're just the social norms,
the little disingenuous little things that are like part of the social norms that I just really hang up on sometimes and really don't understand in a way that makes me think I might be autistic or Asperger's or something because I really don't get it. And I'm trying.
I'm allergic to bullshit too. I mean, if somebody asks me how I am, I'm gonna tell them the truth, and that's not something most people are ready to hear.
And like, I guess that's part of also what I was talking about earlier about how like people like see me coming down the block and already I'm weird. So there is a certain amount of acceptance of that now. I think like sometimes I'll say really heavy things to people and they go, yeah, of course he said something heavy. But like the nurse at my doctor's office, Adele, she won't talk to me because I came in there and she says to me glibly, how's your day? How are you doing? And I was like, well, just, oh, hey, baby. I'm up now. And I said, oh, I'm very sort of like, like this is what I mean. Like, I feel like I'm a jerk when I say things like this, but I don't mean it. I'm just like, just off the tip of my tongue. I just said, oh, every day is just another day towards dying is what I said. Which is just to say that every day is just, just time moves forward. That's all that means. And she took it some sort of real personal way. And she called the shrink and she got very freaked out. And then she wouldn't talk to me. And then one day it was during COVID. And so you have to wait outside on a line to get in because they're limiting the number of people in the building. And she was the nurse on assignment standing out, checking names to make sure you have an appointment, only appointments getting in the building. And because we were standing there, I just asked her, I was like, so why is it you dislike me so much? What did I do? What did I say? And she said something to the effect that I broke her soul. That I like hurt her soul is what she said to me. And I was just like, how? I mean, like, I couldn't even fathom.
Wow, your words are so powerful. I mean, you could just break someone's soul with just
you're right. And honestly, what I said was like, Adele, I don't think I have that power over you. I don't think we know each other well for anything that I could possibly say to affect you to that degree. I don't think that makes sense to me. And she just piffed at me and moved on. Anyway, so, that sort of stupid man. She's not wrong, but I don't think that one was my fault. But these are the things I always I always feel responsible for anyway. In
that's why she like went up the chain with it. She had to go up the chain and like report you and discuss how this made her feel. It's like, what?
In Catholicism, it's mea culpa. In Scientology, it's you're responsible for everything you're responsible for.
Yeah. Alex is in the chat.
What about
Alex
you,
is
Mom?
killing it in the UK right now. Just a little spotlight, Alex. He's the only one over there doing anything in the UK, and he's
All
making a big
right.
difference. So it's pretty
Apostate
freaking
Alex.
rad.
Badass, dude.
Yeah.
All right.
People just gotta, stand up to the bullshit and get the council people involved.
The council,
People making the laws and stuff.
Right. The PMs and that. Well, they have
Yeah.
a new president, or they have a new prime minister, who's presumably more liberal. He's a very strange man, but he's saner. He's better than the last. They've had a string of bizarro right-wing psychopaths: Boris Johnson and Theresa May and Stammer. Really weirdos. The last one was a super rich kid that, like, there's a video of him in prep school bragging about how he doesn't mind having poor friends.
Cool.
Keir Starmer. No, Keir Starmer's the new prime minister. His name was something else. He had another odd name though. The English, they have all these odd names. But it was just the funniest thing. It was like, I don't mind talking to poor people. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
So
honestly, I prefer poor people. They're more real. That's why I go to work at a place with 16 people experiencing homelessness as my joy, like, because it's real.
Well, there's a line about when you're young, you're liberal or you don't have a heart, and as you get older, you get conservative or you don't have a brain. Because as you get older, presumably you accumulate more things, and now you have to hang on to your things. And you're constantly being pushed to get more things. Capitalism needs to be fed. You can't just stop with the things you have. You have to get more things. And then you have to keep up with those things. Boris Johnson. Nobody get Boris Johnson. And apparently Boris Johnson from 13909, apparently he does that on purpose. Like, he tussles his hair on purpose. Oh, because when I'm guessing, when he was 8, being the jostly, silly boy allowed him to get away with murder. So he just kept being that little boy. Well, into prime minister, into the fucking down, whatever, 10. Number 10.
Yeah.
Into number 10.
Guy seems like a tool.
What were we talking about that? I had something I was saying. I keep losing my train of thought. That's no good. This is no good if I lose my train of thought.
We're just catching up,
I just want to.
I remember being. I just want to be coherent.
I want to make sense.
You do make sense. I remember being so excited when, like, you would randomly sign on and send me a message, and then I wouldn't hear from you for like 2 years, and I was always like, "Oh my gosh, Danny, you're alive!" Like, so fucking. And you're not the only one.
Like, that's just like,
yeah.
I ghost. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. It's like father, like son, or something. Like, I just fucking. I feel, again, I was treated like a burden all of my life. I do feel like a burden. I don't want to burden other people with me and my business and my problems and my weirdness. And it's a hard thing to get over. It's your mother and your family and your community and both your exes, they all treat you the same. It's a hard thing to get over.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure. Mike says you were talking about being homeless in New York. I mean, it's a fascinating topic. Well, it really is.
I don't remember if that was what I was talking about at that point. It was something else. We've been bouncing. I was talking about it at some point. I guess I'll talk about. I wish I could remember specifically what I was talking about more specifically, because I had a train of thought.
I think we were still talking about alcoholism and then drugs.
Oh, you asked about drugs. So, like, what you would call more illicit drugs, like the first time I took a pharmaceutical out of turn or that kind of thing, or painkillers.
Yeah.
Painkillers for the first time. I did that.
I mean, we were raised without Tylenol,
Right.
Like, I couldn't take Tylenol.
Right. Oh God, yeah. See, that's the funny thing. I forgot. You're right. We were raised on all like this clean living. There was no Tylenol.
No Novocaine, even. No Novocaine.
There wasn't even refined wheat in the house. There was no white bread. Yeah. There was no white rice. There was no peanut butter dripping in oil. It was that concrete shit. Again, another thing that y'all are just learning about. That's peanut butter that you need a chisel to get into. I remember my sister went to college and she came back for a summer vacation and she brought back Wonder Bread and bologna and Pop-Tarts and things like this that I'd never had before. I'd never seen before. That never existed in the house. That was crazy.
I know.
Wonder Bread and Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is such a like, ooh, it's like almost fancy. such a far.
I don't think I've ever had Kool-Aid to this day.
I used to have some, friends in the public school system. They had Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they would hook you up.
Oh yeah, I got my connects. You want to talk about gateway drugs? Sugar, honey. That's the
yeah. Of course, we went to like Scientology herbalists and chiropractors who just put us on like so many vitamins at such a young age. Like, did you ever go to Dr. Garbett? Oh, he was another. He did that muscle testing.
Yeah. I used to do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a funny thing about that because it does seem to work. But no, the thing about the story, I don't know what to talk about now. Now I've lost my I don't know, I've lost my steam or something.
When was the first time you smoked pot?
That was with Renee. I just remember feeling really warm. We were walking down Franklin and just felt really warm and comforting. It just felt nice. It didn't feel like much of anything else. It just felt like, oh, that's nice. I feel better. It's all right.
I was at the Santa Monica Pier and literally just got so hungry. Like eating everything.
It's funny, the munchies. I don't get the munchies like other people do. I like to eat before I get.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to eat once I'm high because it ruins it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That's like my favorite thing to do. Is
I know.
To smoke
That's
a joint
pretty
and then
common.
just eat.
Most people get the munchies because most people get the munchies.
Yeah.
No, but weed kind of like in a lot of ways kind of carried me through some crazy shit and I've seen this happen with other people. So there's this presumption that some people smoke weed and they get really paranoid. And so there's this people who will say that, oh, I don't smoke weed because it makes me paranoid. And I think the truth is you're paranoid and the weed just brings it out. And I think certainly that was my journey because I was paranoid when I started smoking weed on a regular. And I would vomit sometimes out of anxiety. I had really severe anxiety responses. But
same.
At the end of that, I came through with some real big realizations, in my opinion, of being able to see myself in ways that I had not been able to before. In eliminating some of that anxiety and the noise. There was a lot of noise, and weed really, I think, helped me kind of quiet that noise and hear, what are we talking about?
It allowed me to just relax. Like as a Scientologist kid, we're literally like, that's not part of your day is relaxing. It's just, you're just one thing to the next. And it's not, still not super easy for me to relax. Like takes a little bit.
No, I knew how to relax. That was part of my problem. I was not a good Scientologist. I was not a good productive Scientologist. I was not one of those worker bees like y'all were. That's part of the problem. That was like part of the problem was I was more like, I'm not going to what? The EPF? Are you kidding? I don't know.
Yeah.
Some sort of like, but my mother was a debutante. Like that's her fault, in my opinion. Like I have a little bit of that. Like, are you kidding me? I don't know. I don't think I deserve it, but it's if I'm the monster. If I'm the monster, stage? She's the doctor. What?
Did you go to Kids on Stage?
I remember that. I don't think so. Because again, that was like for the good kids. That was for the good kids. I was never a good kid.
They also used to teach us George Randall used to teach acting classes in the basement at CC.
Yeah, I remember George Randall. I never took his class, but I did perform in that basement once.
You did?
Yeah. The first time I performed in front of an audience, in fact, was in the basement of a church.
You were kind of a good kid if they had you performing.
No, I think it had to do with, I can't even remember who. It was somebody else. And he wanted me to sing for him with his band, and I sang a backup thing for him. And then because of that, somebody he knew, or it might, I don't remember exactly how it happened.
I feel like we went to that. I went to that.
You might have. It's very likely. Tom Thayer. Do you remember Tom Thayer?
Yeah, of course I remember Tom.
He might have had something to do with it. I think he might have something to do with it. Tom Thayer was, and this is a weird story. The universe acts in funny, moves in weird ways. Tom Thayer was in a band in the 60s called the Left Bank. And he was a songwriter for them. I don't know if he was officially in the band, but he's in the credits. Like you can look on their records, his name is there. Contributing member, that kind of thing. And their biggest hit was a song called Don't Walk Away, Renee. Don't walk away, Renee. Blah, blah. I don't know. lyrics. But and my friend Renee, of course, we love that song because Renee Talbot, she's Renee and Don't Walk Away Renee, and isn't that funny? Haha, and we know Tom Fair, and how cool is that? Years later, I'm in New York City, I'm in recovery, I'm at the 12th Street, I want to say Playhouse, the 12th Street Workshop, which is a continuing meeting, just all day long, meetings all day long. And I meet George, who was one of the original founding members of the Left Bank, of this band that John Thayer had been in later on when he was young. And my friend Paul Alves, who is also in recovery and now a recovery coach himself, and a consummate musician, he ends up being the guitar player in the regrouping of the Left Bank.
How
like
bizarre.
It's just so bizarre to me. Like, and now I'm there at the venue listening to these guys perform "Don't Walk Away, Renee." I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, and one of Tom
is weird.
One of Tom Thayer's kids lives in town. I don't remember which one. None of those kids. Those kids were. People thought I was a terror. Those kids were a fucking terror.
His daughter April is out and she speaks out.
Oh, cool. I should talk to her.
She got disconnected from her family, and then I know that one of them suffers from mental illness, and it's a bad situation because all they have is their mom, who's a Scientologist. And when you're experiencing actual mental health episodes and all you have is a Scientologist taking care of you, that's like worst case scenario.
No, they used to do that. They had when people had psychiatric, when they had mental breaks, and there was some sort of process, and they'd lock you in a room, and it was insane, the whole thing. And they would do that at the Shangri-La sometimes, and it was just the insane
the introspective rundown.
I don't know what it's called, but this woman was rubbing her own shit on the floor, on the walls. Like, I don't know what it's called. I don't care what it's called. I'm just saying, like, it didn't look like good business to me. Didn't look like a good idea.
Well, that's how they killed Lisa McPherson.
This is the Lisa McPherson story, right?
Yeah, she.
I don't really know
Clearwater.
the details, but okay, yeah. I think I know that.
She ran out naked in front of a car, and then they ended up putting her in a room, and they did that rundown on her, and she died. So shady, dude.
I've seen this thing they're talking about. I've seen it, and it's shady as fuck. And it is just really antagonizing. You know, somebody's having a psychotic break or is delusional in some sense, and it's just in the process of antagonizing them to the point that they pass out of exhaustion from it or something.
Yeah.
No, I don't think Tom Finn is a Scientologist. No, none of them were Scientologists. Just Tom Thayer, different Tom. Mike McKay. But who was? Oh, Juliette Lewis.
A small world.
Juliette Lewis. I gotta tell the Juliette story. Juliette Lewis and all the whole clan. Did you know any of them? Glennis? Did you know Glennis?
We used to go over to Gladys's house. Yeah, when they were across the street from the Shank.
Yeah. No, well, they lived at the Shank Lodge for a long time. The Batley. When Glennis remarried, Batley, their kids are Drew and Quillen. In between was Bo and Brandon. And then their first husband was Jeffrey Lewis, and their kids were Layfield and Juliet. And Juliette Lewis, of course, is a known character actor, fine character actor, and at one point a musician. She actually put out a couple records years ago in the 90s that were really good. And I ran into her last Christmas, around Christmas time in the city. I was in Chinatown, and she was waiting on the block for her livery cab. And Brandy apparently just had a baby. And it was the most peculiar conversation. I see her and I recognize her, and then she's looking at me like I don't know. She's not looking at me like she recognized me, but she's looking at me. And I said, Juliette Lewis. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I grew up in the Shangri-La. And she was like, oh, familiarity. And it was really interesting. And we're talking for just a couple minutes. And it was really interesting watching her slowly realize, oh, he's not a Scientologist. Disaffected.
Yeah.
And the little shutters come down in her eyes. She's not listening. She's not present. She's disassociated. She is out of the room. And it was really sad, to be honest, because I wanted to compliment her on music, actually. That's what I was getting at, I wanted to talk about that song, because I really liked that song she had out. In the she did in the movie. Well, it was a PJ Harvey song, I think. But either way, she was badass.
She's a wild one. Badass. I'm surprised that she's still such a Scientologist, to be honest.
Well, I think they did something to her, to be honest, because after she made that movie, and then in that movie, she shows her titties, and it was really sexy. It's a very sexy thing. Now, she's always had a certain sexuality to her performances. She's sexy in Cape Fear. She's sexy in California. She's sexy.
Yeah.
But I don't think she'd ever shown her tits before. I don't remember exactly. But then she did the punk music, and the punk music was even more illicit, and the sort of imagery that was attached to that. And I think the church doesn't like it because she kind of disappeared for a while right after that. We didn't see her for a long time. She started popping up in like Zach Galifianakis movie, and then in the Julia Roberts movie. She's fucking amazing. The thing with Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts, that movie's amazing. And she's the third sister in that. And that little trio of women, the sisters, the way the sisters are portrayed in that is something Swage County, something it's about Oklahoma. They're in the plains. It's not just a place. It's like a state of mind, like the blues. Great point. And they're plains people. And it's all sorts of family secrets and stuff. But those sisters, there's this depiction of these three sisters, older sister, middle sister, younger sister. And it's very similar to my sisters in a lot of ways. I love that. Yeah. That's an obsession I have. Sisters. When I see trios like that, I get something about a trio of sisters. Because when I was a kid, I was always felt like on the outside looking in, they were like a coven. They were like a little coven of witches, and they had all their business, and they had all sorts of things going on. It was wild and crazy over there, but I wasn't allowed in, and not just in the normal little brother sort of way, but also in some weird Scientological way that my mother was trying to like shield me from regular people or something. And it's a thing they resent, and it's bizarre to me that Robin thinks I was mother's favorite vehemently, and she's very angry with it. Oh, you were mother's favorite. She let you go to everything. I never got away with anything. I have no idea what she's talking about. I never got away with anything. I wore my guilt and shame like a fucking badge, and she knew it every fucking time. Pulling withhold after withhold. There was nothing. I couldn't keep a fucking secret from that woman. Are you fucking kidding me? I never got away with anything. I have no idea what she thinks I got away with. And I have no idea what she didn't get away with. Like, what did Robin not get away with that she's mad at me for getting away with? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's bullshit. Wendy was her favorite. Wendy was always her favorite. And mostly because Wendy was the most docile. Wendy, as she said it once, she said that she had trained Wendy on how to talk to her or had it her.
Yeah,
she'd had it her on how to talk to her. That was why she liked talking to Wendy. She preferred talking to Wendy. And they love to make the point that she called you. She had this ritual every Sunday. She called the girls. And she loves to make, and when one of them, Kelly or Robin, likes to make the point that she called all of us. It was like, yeah, but she talked to Wendy for like hours. She didn't talk to y'all for hours. She talked to Wendy like the middle of like half the day. She talked to Wendy a lot longer. And then Wendy doesn't remember it that way. Wendy seems to say, no, we didn't barely talk. And I'm like, I would sit there and listen to these conversations. So either Wendy doesn't remember it right, or my mother was talking to somebody else or pretending. I don't know. But I'm imagining it. I guess if I'm not fucking crazy, have some sympathy. I'm sorry. But I remember these conversations. I remember them. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think Wendy just like agreed with her a little bit more? Yeah.
I think Robin is just like her, and so she can't see it. And I think Wendy, I do think that Wendy kind of, she's the more scared of the three. And she was the middle child. She has a little of that. And she was also had a little weight on her when she was younger. And her father used to kind of fuck with her about it. Like he would buy her shit too small for her as supposed to be an encouragement to lose weight. Stuff like that. So, that's why I've always liked Wendy, though, is because she has some actual issues I can get around. I can wrap my head around.
Yeah.
Like she's a real person. Yeah. Because she can't pretend to be perfect the way all the rest of them did.
Yeah.
Bless. You know what I mean? And she was the only one I ever felt any love or compassion from, ever. Wendy, if that means anything to you, thank you. I don't know. I don't know what I mean to them. I really don't. And I fear that I don't mean anything, or I don't mean very much to them. I think that a lot of times they think of me as just some burden that their mother had to bear, to be honest. And again, if I'm the monster, she's the professor. She's the doctor that built the monster. So go fuck yourselves, all of you.
When I knew you guys, they were already out of the house and you were still with mom. So they would come back to visit and stuff. But...
And that's all they knew. That's also the way they don't realize how much she drank. Because all they knew were the holidays and the birthdays and the times, drink appropriate occasions. And they don't realize that she drank, like anytime she wasn't on course, she was drinking. And the tequila, the gallon of tequila there was always a gallon of tequila in the pantry, along with the big jug of margarita mix. And she would say that she liked her margaritas because she really loved the margarita mix. But she never one time ever poured a glass of margarita mix all by itself. Not for nothing. So, and then
I just like the mix. It's not the tequila, just
yeah,
the
right.
mix.
Oh, sure. Classic.
Just drink lemonade then.
And then there's the Manischewitz. That was her version of beer. When she was taking it light, she would drink Manischewitz, that really sweet Jewish wine that's for ceremonial wine. Because it's super sweet. So like that was her jam. That was her jam.
I always find it so trippy to find out that like all these Scientology parents were alcoholics, because my parents didn't really drink, and I just assumed that everybody else was like holy.
Well, honestly,
granola,
a lot of that generation is alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that, like the Mad Men. You know, like that era of time when it was normal to have a bar in your office and to day drink.
Yeah.
And to kind of sip whiskey all day. Congress people do it. You know, that's what's wrong. That's half of what's wrong with our fucking political systems. All those old men, those old white men, they're all drunk half the time. I'm not kidding. That's why is Mitch McConnell? Why is John Boehner always so red in the fucking face? Because he's a fucking why does
you're so right on when you said they need to sit down. Like it's just so true. The old white men just need to sit down and fucking listen for a little bit.
Shut up. There's a guy in there still who's like 90 years old. Like, what the fuck? What is this? And he's making decisions on whose behalf? Anyway, and I don't know if it should necessarily be so like rigid, like a time frame, because honestly, women are better at this as they get older. Like, I don't want there to be the same age limit for women that there is for men. Men should bow out sooner, in my opinion. You know, like Elizabeth Warren is old as these two old farts, but she's not near as old as they are. You know what I mean? Like she's the same age in numbers, but as a person, she is not at all.
She's more cognitively healthy.
Much more. She is a much more saner person. But you know, as I said, you're only as sick as your secrets, and that's one of the problems I think with being the president is you're let in on some fucking secrets. I'm pretty sure you know shit you don't want to know as the president.
Totally.
And I'm looking at Biden right now, and I recognize some of that. That looks to me like a little early onset, and I don't want to say that because I don't want the other guy to win this fucking race, but I do think he should step down. I think he should step down. You know what I imagine would be amazing? Broads. We need mothers. Donald Trump is afraid of women. Donald Trump is afraid of women. If you remember when he had to meet with Angela Merkel, that was the most awkward. That was of all the fucking pushing people around and shoving other dignitaries around. Dianne Feinstein's dead. I'm sorry. She should have stepped down. Dianne Feinstein should have stepped down, or maybe she isn't dead yet. I thought she died. If she still needs to step down, she also needs to step down. Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have stepped down. Should have given us a chance to fill that seat.
She should have.
God, ego, man, ego. Even women. All right, so I think it should be broads. I think mothers. I think we need Kamala Harris. I love her, but people don't, apparently. I don't know why. Nobody who says they don't like her can tell me why. They just, she's unlikable. Yeah. What does that mean? I don't know. I just don't like her. Well, why? So I thought,
how have we not had a woman in the White House? I mean, really? I mean, we've had a vice president now, but like, come on, dude. Are we that behind?
We're a deeply misogynistic culture. I think Barack Obama was evidence that we're even more misogynist than we are racist. As racist a culture as we are, we're even more misogynist. That Hillary Clinton ran twice and should have been there's no, as far as like the normal order of how this works in the politics of America, there's no real reason why she shouldn't have been president other than she was a woman. Certainly the sons of presidents have been presidents and stuff like that just because she was the wife of a president, but she was also a senator. She was also the secretary of state. She also, she's also tried to like fix our fucking education system. She's also done a lot of good shit and real shit throughout her life.
Yeah.
I'm not even a big fan, but she's not a fake person. She's not a fake, a candidate in that sense that the right tried to make her out to be. But no, my joke was it should be Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney. There's an old tradition where your vice president was meant to be of the opposite party because we weren't enemies. We weren't enemies.
We're supposed to work together.
Right. So the campaign is where the dirt is flung. Your enemy's there for a minute. But once the dust is settled and the election is settled, you're supposed to get into bed together. That's how it works. Yeah. But we stopped getting in bed together a long time ago. So I think it'd be great to have a ticket that has, a Democrat and a Republican, even though a lot of Republicans disown Liz Cheney. And I think she's gay. But still, these are women that I think would be able to kind of boss Donald Trump around in a way that Joe Biden couldn't, and a lot of men can't. I think that we need broads. Do you know what I mean? Broads. I want broads in the White House. More broads and more mothers.
Broads too.
Not just women, but mothers.
That would be sick.
So yeah, and people keep talking about Michelle Obama, but I don't know if that's a good idea.
She's very likable, but I don't know if she
beloved.
could boss around Trump.
No, I don't know. I think the deal is like there's two different things here. Who can win the election and who can actually be president? So Joe Biden seems to think he can win the election, but I don't know if we think he can be president for 4 more years. So
I mean, I'm a huge I really like the Biden family. They spoke at my graduation. I really love Joe Biden, and I am saying I don't think he should be president again. I mean, I see the early signs just like you. There's no getting around that. He's an old man.
He's too old. And he's he's willful and he's strong-willed, and there's a fight in him that he doesn't, he feels very proud of, and you're supposed to be, but people make him this joke. He said in that Stephanopoulos interview that as long as I give it my all, that's what matters. It's like, no, dude, that's not all that matters right now. There's a lot more
that's not all that matters
than whether or not you gave it your all, Mr. Participation Trophy. No, that is not all that matters. So
I agree.
He seems to miss the point a little bit, so that's worrisome.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, where's my student loan forgiveness? He said he was gonna do that, and so many people voted
a lot of
for
people
him.
did. A lot of people did get student loan relief. I don't know the criteria.
So many. Well, it was like it ended up being more like a quarter of people when he actually he ran on the platform of saying like, I want to erase 10,000 for everybody. And so a lot of people definitely voted for him, and a lot of people at the schools took out extra loans because they thought it was going to be forgiven. My counselor was like, you might want to take out a loan because Biden's going to forgive it, and it never happened. Yeah. A lot of people are still waiting on that. Including myself.
Well, this is the problem. Our system has ground to a halt. There's half of the party seems to be mostly interested in just being obstructionists. I think there should be some sort of productivity scale that you have to meet. You have to do certain things as a senator to be able to stay a senator, because they don't seem to be legislating very much. Has Marjorie Taylor Greene, has she written a single law? Has she passed a single thing? It seems to me her only purpose is to sit there and make noise and show us dick pics of Hunter Biden. That was her obsession. She wanted those dick pics, man. Oh, did you freeze on me?
I froze again. For whatever reason, at the 2-hour mark, I begin to freeze.
Oh, so, very suspicious.
I am thinking we'll just save the rest of this for next week.
All right, next week. Tune in next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Sounds good to me.
All right, and remind me to tell you there was forget it. Juliette Lewis. I don't think I finished that story, but whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll talk next week.
Okay, the Juliette Lewis story. That's for next week.
Let's get off of this, and then we'll talk some.
Okay.
Leave studio. Bye.
Bye.